This is episode 2 of Ask an IT Guy. And we would like to start off today's conversation with something that we saw in the news, the Chinese threat. So, Alex, what is the likelihood of an attack? What would they want from a small business? And what do we look for if we think there is an attack?
Chances are everybody's already under attack right now. Whether they realize it or not, they're getting phishing emails where people are trying to harvest their login credentials for their email account or their databases or where they're keeping their data. Whenever you see instances of somebody trying to send you a fictitious login for asking your username and your password, they are trying to get you to volunteer this information because the weak point of security is usually people and not necessarily the mechanisms that they have in place and the tools that they're using. So things to keep you an eye open for are those messages in your junk email folder or weird pop-ups on your screen, or if you notice that your mouse cursor is moving without your input and it's clicking on things that download information or install applications or anything that's just odd behavior on that machine. Website redirects as you're browsing the internet and you do a search and then you get redirected to a secondary site, or you have a pop-up that says your machine's infected. Another thing that is going to be a big red flag is if you start to see documents that used to end in .docx or XLSX or PDF, and these files now have a new type of extension at the end of them, and when you try and open them, they open to gibberish, and you see ransomware notes in there. That is a sign that you've already been attacked, and they're already starting to destroy your data, and they're going to start to try and hold that for ransom.
What type of extensions would we be looking for?
They'll change on every different attack. Really, what you're going to be seeing is not the extension that you're normally used to seeing, like a .doc, where it's a Word document or an Excel spreadsheet or the PDF document, and it's going to be something else. And that is going to be too late in that point. And what you're going to end up relying on is an existing backup or disaster recovery plan that you have in place, which is going to restore your data.
Awesome.
But I mean, just to focus that this is not just China that's doing these attacks. But right now they're a big culprit of a lot of them, and they will target any industry that's on the cutting edge of whatever it is they do. And they don't care about collateral damage. In this aspect, if they're trying to get access to data for a company that you do work for, you're going to be a target as well. And they'll go down the chain. Anything that they can do to compromise this network, they'll compromise any other side network just to get into where they need to. They'll do anything to get this knowledge and intellectual property, workflow, robotics, automation, construction, accounting, financials, legal, whatever.
Okay. So now we're going to switch pace to a little bit of Office 365.
Yes.
Now, from my understanding, Office 365 is a comprehensive solution. Is it the best solution for a small to medium business? And what is the biggest value add to small and medium business?
I think it's a great solution for small businesses. It gives them a lot of just email, for example. Back 10 years ago, if you wanted to have a full Exchange solution in place, you would be spending thousands of dollars on the hardware, the licensing, everything that goes into having it, and then you would also have to pay for an expert to have to offer this for you. A lot of people, and today, all they have to do is have a domain name, and if they have a little bit of tech knowledge, they can go and set up Office 365 for themselves. A lot of the more advanced features, you're going to want to have support and assistance with the setup process, and but for right out the gate, for a small business to have your own domain name, which is the beginning of the development of your personal business brand, is going to be your online presence. So if you have a website, there is no reason why you should be using a Gmail or a Hotmail account. Just set up your own domain in Office 365, and you can start publishing your calendar. And that's another thing too. If a person relies on external appointment settings, Office 365 with the business plan has a bookings feature. If you're using the online version of Microsoft 365 versus the full install, you're going to be leveraging a lot of the machine intelligence that comes with this, like speech recognition, and you can have built-in dictation software into Word and Outlook, so you can have these emails or documents composed via text. So yeah, there's just a lot of features out there, and it's just the tip of the iceberg what a lot of people see.
So let's say hypothetically, I was a one computer business
Okay.
and I wanted to utilize something like the bookings feature. Let's say I was like a nail salon or something like that. What would be my type of workflow with Office 365?
Well, with your workflow, you're going to be doing a lot of marketing in terms of communication with people. And what you're going to want to do is, instead of sitting there on the phone waiting for people to call you and say, hey, I'd like to book you for a 10 a.m. Nail appointment or whatever the widget is. And instead of you spending time on the phone saying, okay, well, this time's no good for me. Okay, does this time work for you? And then the back and forth until you guys finally nail in a time. You can automate the entire process by just having your calendar available, and you set your hours of operation. And then if you've already have times booked during that time, it doesn't make it available for somebody else to book that time against you. So you can make sure that the client appointment happens within the time frame that you want it during your open available times. Now, even better, if that customer decides that they want to cancel that appointment, they can go right through that web interface, cancel it, reschedule it, and it doesn't take any additional time out of your time. So if you're just that one person shop, spending all that time on administrative functions and scheduling is going to be, it's going to give you more time that you can actually do work on your customers' nails.
Perfect. So let's say it wasn't just a one person, but a one computer shop. Let's say I'm the business owner and I have, I don't know, 7 people cutting hair. Would the bookings feature also work for them? So I'd be able to just plug people into each employee's calendar?
You can pick which person that you want to make your scheduled appointment with, and you can develop your whole teams. So yeah, I mean, it's very, very powerful, and it doesn't. You don't even necessarily have to have a computer on site. You can use your smartphone to do a lot of this stuff too. You can log into Office 365. So yeah, zero computer shop.
Nice. So now, I was asked earlier about a firewall.
Right.
Now, I would like to cover for the people, what is a firewall? How do you make it past the firewall? And if something like that happens, what would you do?
Well, a firewall is, for the last 20, 25 years, that's been one of your most powerful network security mechanisms. You can control the flow of information into your network and out of your network. And a lot of the security mentality of old networkers were you protect your network at the perimeter. Think of it like a castle wall around your fortress. And you can control information, people coming in and out of your network through this mechanism. But as time has gone over and people are using a lot of more cloud services, this is going to be using services that are based on the web, and the perimeter defense is not going to be as valid anymore. Now, it still definitely has its place for any services, like let's say you allow remote access and you only want to allow remote access from specific, like your home IP address. And you can lock down communications that way. So it still has its place, but firewalls by themselves are not enough anymore. You need to have user training. That's going to be your biggest weak point. Sharing personal information, your password, your username, information that is necessary for the business to operate, but doesn't necessarily even go through the computer's firewall anymore because the data is not on premise anymore. It's in the cloud. So a firewall is still important in the sense that you need to protect the machine that you're using, because if that endpoint gets compromised, let's say via a keylogger or remote spy software or remote control software, you don't want to allow that information to necessarily leave. So a firewall may be able to protect you from sending the keystrokes, like when you type in your username and password into your banking website. Your firewall can prevent any kind of communication from going out of your computer except to the bank or what other service you want to protect.
Perfect. So you talked about user training.
Correct.
Do people offer user training? And if they do, how often should user training occur?
User training can happen as frequently as needed. If you offer service, like I do user training as frequently as people need it. For instance, people receive those phishing emails all the time. And there have been instances where I have done a phishing scenario where I attempt to trick users into giving me their username and passwords for the purpose of a security test. And
Yes.
in one instance, everybody successfully received the email. I had one person even blast the rest of the office and say, "Hey, this is a phishing email. Don't fall victim to it." And everything went great. And then I went and did a presentation about security. And then 2 days later, somebody opened that original email a week later, and they provided their username and password. So, I mean, we do everything in our power to make sure that everyone's trained on protecting the network, protecting their machines, protecting their data, protecting their user identity. But if all it takes is one careless act, and you can compromise an entire network.
Wow. Well,
So,
thank you for your time
daily,
today.
yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Great.